order. First up is roll call and seating of alternates. I've got Ian Cremate present, Scott Person present, and myself present is the regular members. And so Kevin, will seat you and we'll seat you, Anne Marie.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Next up is additions or changes to the agenda. And I would like to move new business item 6A, which is the Connecticut Meditation Center, up above the old business. So that these folks don't have to sit around waiting for their turn and then they can go do other stuff when they get done. And then I would also like to remove item 5, Charlie, the gravel pit update. Essentially, there's not very much to report on that. And it would require us to go to executive session because there is a lawsuit pending. And so since I don't have much to report, I don't want to go to executive session. We will just pass on that tonight. Hey, Patrick. So at this point, I would like to make a motion to move 6A before item 5 and remove item 5, Charlie.
A second.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Any other discussion on the changes to the agenda or any other changes to the agenda anybody wants to make? Okay, hearing none. I'll call for a vote to approve the motion. Ann?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anne Marie?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That motion passes 5-0-0. Since Patrick is here and I did not put on my notes who was last seated as an alternate. I think it's your turn, Kevin, but I don't know, Anne Marie, do you have a sense, were you seated recently?
Not that I recall, no. I'm fine either way.
Okay, Kevin, do you remember the last time you were seated?
Honestly, not without going back and looking at the minutes.
Okay,
So it doesn't matter to me, however you want to put it down.
I'm going to, I'm going to seat Anne Marie then. She was the first one in. And,
Very good.
Kevin, will put you off to the side and let Patrick take his seat there. Okay, next item up on the agenda, Leanne Hutchinson is joining us. Maybe I spoke too fast, Anne Marie. I think we'll put, Leanne, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, I had seated Anne Marie for you. We're going to set you in there. So we have all 5 of our regular members as the voting members tonight. Anybody, and it's only you guys, I don't think you have any public comment on anything else before we get to your item?
No.
Okay, very good. We're gonna move on to item 6A, the proposed development at 131 Route 6. And I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, sure. So, today we are representing the Connecticut Meditation Center. It's a non-profit organization where we are providing the relief, Buddhist teachings and meditation practices. So community around us.
You can just speak a little louder, please. We can
Okay.
make sure that we
Right.
pick you up on the recording.
All right. So it's a non-profit organization where we are providing Buddhist teaching and meditation practices to the community, including again, we are conducting the cultural classes of Sri Lankan community who lives in Connecticut, right? So we been started this in 2013, right? And but there we haven't had a proper place to do that, but we rented a places based on the requirement and continue until 2021. In 2021, we found this property at Andover and we purchased it. So we purchased this property. I mean, it's not an easy path for us because we had to collect a lot of money throughout for the I mean, from 2013 to 2021. And finally we found that and we thought it's the best place for us to build this property and serve the community in a better way, right? So considering all these facts, we bought this property and then we trying to see how we can utilize in a better way to have our the operations, right? So there we have like, if I consider the events what we are doing, like we have regular prayer meetings kind of sessions. So usually we are having around 40 to 50 people. So the current facility is okay for us to continue all those things. On top of that, every year we are usually having a big event. Usually those are happening in late spring and the summer, where we have a big the backyard, right? So we should be able to accommodate all of the attendance on these facilities. And on top of that, we have a tent, it's a temporary tent where we are doing all those things there, right? Now, I said that the biggest challenge we are facing the accommodation for trees. Right now, during the summer, they can stay in the big old building because it's a pretty old building which was built in 1700s, right? And there, I mean, you know, insulations are not that good. There are holes around, and it needs a better heating system. The water lines are, I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, it's definitely it's gonna froze during the winter. We have a lot of problem, right? So there, but still we manage all those things with very hardships. But it's not, I mean, considering all those things, and again, so I mean, I know the priests they dedicated their life to do better things for others, but still they don't need to suffer that much,
Yeah,
right?
it's not practical for us,
Right, yeah.
because investing more money to develop that old building. When we really consider, we talked to several contractors and looked at options. And putting more money into that building is not worth the effort and the cost at the end of the day, because the foundation itself is not that good. And so we don't know, in order to make it safe for somebody to live there, it's a significant cost, and still we are not guaranteed that it'll stay safe. And especially during the winter, to make it insulated and heated with the proper facilities, it's hard to do it with that old building. So unfortunately, we didn't know about the situation of the building when we purchased the property. But now that we have purchased it, we have it. So now we are looking at alternatives. That's why we repaired the barn to see whether we can use it as a temporary shelter, but that doesn't work either. A lot of mice, and the insulation is very poor. So the water freezes up and all this problems. So that's why we are looking at alternatives for them, because right now he lives in New York. So coming from New York to here is not a practical solution for us either. So we want, and then we got another priest from Sri Lanka. So now we have two, but we need the place for those two people to be there, and then that way we can have regular meetings and prayers and have children's sessions like classes, and we can like work with the community, local community on a regular basis. When you're operating from New York, it's very hard to do, and it's costly back and forth travel. It's not practical, so that's why we are looking for an alternative.
Anything else for us?
So there are our option where we decide, we wanted to check the possibilities of setting up a manufactured house there in that property, right? So it's going to be a 3-bedroom manufactured house, which is about 1,200 square feet. I mean, it's less than 1,172. So now we want to, I mean, so there on there, for that, where we created a site plan, I mean, just a high level site plan to show you, to see how it is. Right? So, and we wanted to know how we can continue in this path and enable our place to have affordable or a better, I can have another copy, place to live.
Yeah, this is again, it's a temporary solution because our ultimate goal is to develop a bigger public building where we can have the public functions as well as maybe then the priest can have some accommodation within that permanent building. But that's a longer term plan.
Okay,
So right now, what we want to do is, that's why we looked at different options. Can we develop part of that public building right now? But then again, it's too costly. So because we have to put the foundation for the whole building and develop this, when we do the septic and the plumbing and everything, electrical facilities, then it has to be done for the whole building.
Yeah.
So the infrastructure cost is
Yeah.
too high. So that's why we settled on this manufactured home. That way, the initial cost is lower and the infrastructure cost would be lower as well. So we are seeking a permission to go ahead with that plan before we raise funds and pay an advance to the manufacturer. We want your opinion on how to go.
okay, so your last comment there, like our opinion. And so this is a pre-application conference. We don't have an application
Yeah,
yet. We're just
right.
here sharing information, trying to get some feedback from the commission
Yeah.
on how it's going and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Jim, had you had a chance to see this site plan drawing at all?
Yes, I have some notes that I'd like to share at some point.
Okay, now's a good
For
time.
Background.
Yep.
Okay, the Connecticut Meditation Center purchased the property at 131 Route 6, consisting of 7.4 acres of land, along with 3,900 square foot structure built 1792, which is once White's Tavern. Been used, but it's been used for residence for quite some time. Based on a recent photo, it appears that there have been up to 3 residential units in the building. I say that because it may have some bearing on what's allowed in the future moving forward. And I say that because there's three electrical boxes on the picture that I have, 3 meter seconds. Property's own business. The intended use of the property as a place of worship is what I'm referring to it as, is specifically listed as requiring a site plan approval. Current owners have been made aware of this and have engaged an engineer, Andrew Bushnell, to prepare plans. And I've had a few conversations with Andy regarding the regulatory standards. So they recently approached about placing a manufactured home on the property for 2 monks to live in. Well, the use of the existing house falls under the list of permitted uses under the business zone. It was in fact, because it was in existence prior to 2003, which is what the regulations state. Having said that, obviously a new structure would not meet that criteria. Then the question arose, or in my mind anyway, as to whether a residence placed on the property might constitute an accessory use to a place of worship. And that is assuming that such a use is established by way of a site plan approval. And referring them, this would be similar to a rectory at a church, which is something that most of us are familiar with. So section 8 of the zoning regulation states that all site plan approvals must meet all the requirements of section 23, with the exception of a public hearing. And this would include architectural design. That's all I have for notes.
Okay.
So I tried to make it clear that this is just a preliminary.
Yeah.
These folks had come to us, from the commission back when they first purchased the property with get some feedback and. There's, their plans, I think, have evolved since then. So I guess, first and foremost, we need I've tried to make it clear that we need a site plan approval. I kind of use the terms interchangeably, but I shouldn't. I guess can I raise a concern now that I'm hearing?
Go ahead.
The long-term use of the house. What do you intend to do with that moving forward long-term?
If we can, because we have approached like a couple of institutions, including Yale University, because it's a historical building, we prefer to save it and see whether we can develop it. But as I said before, investing more money to bring it to a residential property that can be used year round is right now with our kind of financial situation, it's beyond us. Because that's why we see whether we can get some state or federal grants or some kind of funding with some expert help. That's why we approached the Yale University and their architectural and engineering departments just to get because biggest concern is about the foundation of the property. So because it's a old stone foundation and it has moved a little bit. So that's why we can't use it for public functions or anything. So we don't want to use it that way unless we get some experts who know the subject very well and give us advice and bring in enough money to make it a safe building for public. So that's why we are moving towards this temporary solution.
Yeah.
Again, as of now, we have spent a lot on that property to keep the structure stable, because we have set up a lot of the reinforcement columns.
Yeah, we have put metal columns underneath so that just to support the existing structure and added more plumbing and just.
That looks like my house. I have a stone foundation with lots of those poles and hold it up.
Yeah, so we have invested some money, but again, we don't want to put in a lot more money with real little benefit. Because we can't, when we have public functions, we don't want people to go in there because we are not sure whether it's safe or not. We are just right now using it more for storage and because we have this big tent, that's why we purchased the tent. And so it's like semi-permanent, so the structure there, but we remove the roof and store it during the winter because we cannot use it during the winter, but most of the functions are during spring and summer, so we can manage. But we prefer our priests to live there year round because people are visiting us pretty much every weekend. We people who want to visit us and people who drive by on Route 6 stop and want to talk to the priests and learn a little bit more. But we cannot accommodate them because they are not there during, especially, during the winter.
Do any of the commission members have any comments or questions on what we've seen here? Leanne? Kevin? Anne Marie?
I would say I don't really have any comments right now. I mean, I listened and I understand what they're looking to do with the property. You know, I understand that the future vision is not 100% developed yet. But I would say I don't really have any questions at this time.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Kevin. John, you have anything?
No, nothing from me. I thought that the summary was good.
Just curious, this projected Priest residence, is this gonna be a permanent building then? You're not intending to replace it with something else soon, or what?
Not soon, but eventually our plan is to, we have already discussed with the town about the future plan, longer term plan, because we want to build a bigger building, permanent building with enough space to conduct public functions and prayers and with a prayer hall, and so that the problem is that that's going to take few more years because we have to do it slowly and working with the town. But right now, our immediate problem is that we are unable to have accommodations for the priests.
Okay,
So-
will the priest then live in that new larger building when you build that?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then you wouldn't need this.
Yeah,
So-
Is this on a like cement
yeah. we
flat
have to- we have-
foundation, or is it a with a basement kind
No,
of?
no, no, we have to put a flat, because there are some requirements from the manufacturer. And based on their requirements, we are going to put a concrete slab
Flat.
and then put the plumbing and the septic for that, and then bring in and put the manufactured home on top of that. It's a smaller but 3-bedroom, because there are some state requirements about the dimensions of the manufactured house, so because of that, that's why we prefer to do a smaller one. But then the state rules kind of.
Yep.
So that's why we thought if we can use the affordable housing kind of approach and then have this residence as I would say short-term measure, but then again, we can use it in the long run, although we are planning to build a bigger building on the property. I think we should be able to use it in the long run as well.
So is that bigger building going to be an addition onto this residence, or is it a completely separate building?
Completely separate building.
So at that point, would this building go away, or would it?
No, it's not right now. Well, I think our plan is to keep it there and then use it as the residence while we are building the bigger building.
Yep.
And then also we can, since those plans haven't kind of finalized yet. If we have a residence for the monks right now with the manufactured home, then we can concentrate on building the public building first.
Yeah.
Right, and then take an addition if necessary, if we feel that the manufactured home is not good enough for the priests in the long run, then we can do an addition for the public building with the residents.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is for a lot in the built business zone now, we wouldn't allow you to build a single family home because we want the
Yeah.
business lots to be used for business.
Yeah.
And so we've already got one single family home, although it's in horrible condition. Then we've got another one, and then we might have the priests or the monks, which is the proper term,
Yeah,
living in this new center, which I saw a picture online.
yeah.
Very, a nice building. But right now, we wouldn't allow two homes on one lot.
Yeah.
So we've got to work our way through that a little bit, and probably as an accessory building, we can do that, but it makes me concerned about the long-term viability, what's gonna happen 50 years from now, I don't know, but we've got, we're in a condition where if it weren't to be a temple anymore, then we've got a couple of homes on there. Now we're into a situation where that's not in accordance with the regulation, so I would hope that we
But our
avoid.
plan is to make it for the long term, because
Okay,
this is for the, actually, the Sri Lankan community in Connecticut is growing pretty fast. Already we have about, I would say, a little more than 100 families in the area. And it's growing fast with the Yukon and other insurance companies and companies in Hartford. There are a lot more people and a lot more doctors in the hospitals here. So the community is growing, and especially with little kids, they want the cultural and language and the religious education for the kids as well. So that's why we are thinking about this property as the long term. We are doing this for the future generation, not for us. Yeah.
so go ahead, Eric.
So if I can interject, I want to throw one wild card in, but before I do that, what I wanted to do is, do you guys have an architect you're working with on this? Okay. So the reason why I say that is the wild card would be develop this as a mixed use floating zone, which gives you the flexibility to probably do everything they want, as long as they present a master plan up front and you accept you accept it as a mixed use floating zone. That would give you the flexibility to mix both the religious uses and potentially multiple residences, on site. It's not commercial per se, but it's essentially the equivalent of commercial. And that would be one potential, but they would have to do the homework to present, a fully developed master plan for how the whole thing will look eventually. And then that makes your life easy, because once you've gone through that and you've presented that master plan, which shows everything, at each step, when you get ready to build the next building, then it is just site plan approval from the commission, which is much faster than going through a special permit. So much more hassle up front, but once you've got it, then, whenever you're ready to build the next building, you plug it in.
No, totally agree. And actually, that's why we did the site plan, thinking about the longer term, the larger building. And we had an architectural drawing of that building. But the problem was that the cost was, right now, we couldn't afford it. That's why we were debating. We didn't want to present the whole plan to you guys before we know that we can afford to build it and have a definite timeline to it. So that's why we decided on this alternate plan.
But it would be good for the commission to see what you're thinking
Sure.
for the long-term plan, because I think it's a good plan.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we have already done some of the work. And we have also brought in engineers to look at possible placement of a septic tank and how the parking would be set up. And all that is done already.
Okay, yeah,
So
would be interesting for us too. Yeah, it would be. It'd be good to know what you're planning on doing, because it sounds like.
yeah, and we should,
good for the
we are
town.
going to, if we do it finally to the specifications that we are thinking of, it will be a pretty nice development on that property. And the problem is it's going to cost us a couple of $1 million. So, but I think with that's why we wanted the priest to be there, because these families want to come and meet them, talk to them, get the children to know them. So if we are doing it long distance, it doesn't work very well. We tried that with Zoom meetings and it doesn't work very well. That's why.
Do you have
Okay,
any idea, excuse
Go
me,
ahead.
do you have any idea where the bigger building would go?
Yeah, we have, we have already a plan where there is on one side of the property, because we have, the property is pretty large and there are some areas with some, I think, like there are waterways, so we want to be careful. That's why we brought engineers to look at that and recommend us
So you have all
for a
the
site,
wetlands
yeah,
marked.
wetlands, avoid the wetlands, make sure the properties graded properly and all that, so.
I mean, right now, we have created these plans and they are with us, but the only problem where, I mean, it created by one of our architects where we recently moved here. But we don't have the certification.
Yeah,
to-
so we are going to give those plans to a licensed architect here and get him to redraw the entire plan based on the state rules and regulations and the zoning and everything. Yeah.
But we have already prepared a one, but it's not certified.
Yeah.
I understand, just
Yeah.
to give us an idea of what you're looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Would be
that-
helpful.
We should be able to provide it.
Yeah, we can provide that while we are working on the with the licensed surveyor and but we are working with the licensed surveyor, but we don't have a licensed architect to finally draw an actual development plan.
Now, help me understand the temple today. Is the temple today the statue of Buddha with the covering on top of it?
Yeah, that's the temple, and then we are using the tent for the, and mostly whenever we can, we do outdoor functions, but if we want indoor, we are using the tent for those, because we have, as he said, 30-40 people at least coming there for a small function. For a bigger function, we will have 100 to 120 people.
It is, and that will be the temple in the end?
Yes,
That is the temple.
that is the temple, yeah.
And if you got the tax exempt status for being a house of worship now?
Yeah, we have submitted all the required documentation
Okay.
and
It's the process.
it's in the process, and they said probably it will be next year. For the next tax year, we don't have to pay the taxes. So we have, submitted all the documentation.
Because all the discussion is predicated on there being an actual temple there. And I
Yeah.
didn't know if that was.
Yeah.
I had something different in mind when I thought of a temple
Yeah.
than that.
No, that's why we set it up originally as a non-profit and got the IRS to give us the tax exempt status. And then we collected all the documentation and submitted it to the city. Okay, and there is an approach.
Are you setting up a separate nonprofit for this operation?
No, it is already existing nonprofit, the Port Connecticut Meditation Center Inc. So that's a organization.
Right.
So all the contributions to that, that current meditation center is tax exempt.
Right, but that brings up a second point, and that is you're going through to get tax exempt status essentially as a religious organization in town, which I don't think the town has any problem with. We're encouraging you to do that, but you haven't really filed the applications for the zone. So you still need a permit application to be a church. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that's ever been.
That's where we're headed, is we've got to get,
Right,
we've got to establish by permit here at church, and we might be able to do all that in one plan. And I think there's different ways, as Eric was saying, this mixed use thing, and I hadn't thought about that. I think it would work just as long as we have a temple and an accessory structure
Yeah.
there, and you can have more than one accessory structure, I'm assuming, Jim. that you can have as many of those as you need.
Okay.
And the floating zone it's very flexible.
Yeah.
A lot of. Yeah, I tried to make it clear that they need, I mean, it was used as a residence. You could have continued to use it as a residence.
Mhm.
But it was, I mean, basically a change to use. We don't use the term change of use, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
A change of use requires a new permit
Okay,
in this case.
So we can't approve the
A new
house
permit.
Yeah.
unless we have
the permit for
a
the.
permit for the temple.
What I'm suggesting is,
Yeah, that's
if you
perfect.
get a permit, apply for a permit for something simple.
Yeah.
This larger building can come later.
Yeah, that definitely.
What I wanna see is what you have there now, a tent, you know, you have various things.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can establish parking.
Mhm.
And I know you've been working with the sanitarian.
Yeah.
And an engineer on a septic system.
Mhm.
But I wanna see that all come together into an application, and I tried to make that.
Okay, yeah, definitely, yeah, we can, that's why we were not totally sure how to go about
Yeah.
doing this, so that's a reason for this meeting, that's why we wanted to come in person so that we understand the needs, and then we'll definitely do the documentation.
And just so you know, I'd be happy to meet with you and your engineer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'd rather meet with your engineer. The architect, I think, can wait. I want
Okay.
to see you establish the use as soon as possible.
yeah, we have an
That way it's
engineer,
permanent.
actually, one of our community members is the city engineer for Manchester,
Okay,
so
well, yeah, I know you have a lot of resources. in
yeah,
terms of,
so he's
board
helping
members.
us, and also we have hired a actual engineer to, civil engineer to help us with the plan.
Right,
So,
and I have spoken to him.
okay, yeah,
Andy.
Andy, right, yeah,
Okay.
And then
So,
I looked you saw a drawing of the proposed house.
yeah,
And it didn't have probably as much detail on that as we would like to see with respect to the heating system and tie into the septic tank and where the well is and all that kind of stuff. So the application would probably need a little more than what we've seen so far as
Yeah.
far as the
Okay.
actual house
yeah,
The-
infrastructure,
and, you know,
So-
making
Yeah.
sure that
okay,
it stays seated.
yeah,
Right, and there's also essentially two standards for manufactured homes.
mhm,
One is a HUD standard,
mhm,
and one is a manufactured home standard that conforms to all the standard that conforms to the Connecticut Building Code.
okay,
As far as I know, and I don't remember what there was a state, something's changed recently with the state regulations, but the town has always permitted manufactured homes,
mhm,
which conform to the Connecticut State Building Code.
mhm,
Plenty of them in town,
yeah,
but we've never permitted homes built to the mobile home or the HUD standard
okay,
in our zoning regulations. So just be aware of that
yeah.
as you're looking at units.
Yeah, that's why we were told that it has to be more than 22 feet
Yep.
long. So that's why we went with the 3-bedroom unit, because it's a bigger building and has a little bit more space as well. So.
Yeah, that 22 feet wide, that's a state,
Well,
but you can actually build, it doesn't need to be as big. As
Uh-huh.
long as it's quote unquote a manufactured house.
Yeah.
In fact, you can get all the way down under 400 square feet
Mm,
and build it under the state code for tiny houses, which is an addendum to the state building code. Those you could probably buy what's called an accessory dwelling unit
okay,
and plunk that on, and that might be for a shorter term solution that saves you money. But, I don't know your priest, whether he wants to live in a
yeah,
400 square foot
Yeah.
home, that's between you and them, but
Yeah.
you have. You do have a bunch of options with
Option.
that, don't think that you have to build
okay,
a 22-foot wide structure.
What I've been trying to stress is that you can't have an accessory use or an accessory structure
Mhm.
without a primary.
Yeah.
And you don't have a primary use. approved right now. Is that clear? Am I-
Yeah, so primary use means that we have,
Sure.
for the temple,
The house
we have
of
to put
worship,
the, okay, house of worship. So
Right.
there's a.
Yeah, and that could be, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and that can be the tent, you know,
Yeah,
what you have.
yeah, so
That's
that,
what you have.
I think, so, yeah, let us know what documents do you need for the, just to get the approval for the temple with the current facility.
Okay,
So we'll start with that,
Okay.
right, and then.
your
you can
engineer
give
is well aware of what.
Okay,
what is
okay,
required.
yeah, we can talk to Andy and get, set up that permit first.
I mean, I don't
Like
see
that.
any reason that your architect has to be engaged in this preliminary.
Yeah, we don't want to,
Preliminary.
you know,
The
everything
original
costs
site plan
more and more money, so, yeah, that's why we first started with the engineer, so that we develop the site plan, and also we wanted to make sure that we understand the needs for the like septic tank, because right now, the septic connections for that old building, we are not very sure of how.
No, it's a
you
big
know.
project. I mean, you're trying to plan, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we have to plan for the future, as I said, right? We don't want to do one thing right now and to find out later that, oh, this is not enough, we need to expand that, so the cost kind of adds up pretty quickly. So that's why we want to understand all the requirements now before we, put money into this.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why we are, yeah.
The last comment I have, and I'll ask Jim, when I went to the assessor's map today to look at this property, it looks like there's 3 different lots
Hmm.
that you own.
Yeah.
Are we dealing with just the one lot? And then it looks like the
No,
other 2 lots.
Recently, we consolidated all 3 into one.
Okay, that was gonna be my question.
Yeah, even I have the
Yeah.
documentation.
Okay, and so that should be spelled out on the site plan too, that we've taken the 3 different parcels and
Yeah,
combined
so
them.
that was the recommendation from Andy when he came and looked at the properties and don't want to deal with these 3 separate
Right.
lots and
Yes, okay,
said,
very good.
let's consolidate that.
That's good advice.
Yeah, so,
This part.
so we'll work on that permit first. Just to get the permit for the temple with the current existing structures. And then go forward with the second step would be to apply for a mixed use permit or to get the waiver to set up the residential building.
So, Chad,
Go ahead, John.
so I don't know if this was mentioned. I liked Eric's idea of the mixed use, but in looking at the regulations for the business district, and I mean, church is as allowed site plan use. I think you probably already talked about that. There's not there's not a specific definition of what a church is. And this is an interpretation by the ZEO and maybe the commission itself. But churches, really, religious facilities can be fairly broad and expansive that could include some residential, some community space. Obviously, think of a large church community.
Yeah.
It encompasses a great many related uses, including residential, including community space, including assembly. And the other thing I would point out is in section 8, the business zone, in the site plan uses where it includes churches, there's also a clause at the bottom of that list that says any other uses that the commission determines are substantially similar to the other allowable site plan uses. So, again, I think we would need sort of that master plan and kind of a narrative to show how all of these various uses, the priest's residence, some community space, the temple, other structures, how that all works together to support the religious community. I think, you could sort of lay this out in a way that the commission could understand that really the whole property is functioning essentially as a church or something similar enough that it would fit under the current zone.
Okay, yeah, so that's exactly how we are thinking about it too. So because we want the public to gather and do the religious things at the same time, then they are also involved in teaching kids. So we want the kids to assemble there And so maybe have smaller gatherings so that they can learn the language, culture, as well as some meditation. And then we can, the other advantage in priests living in the properties that there are a lot of demands from the schools in the area to come and do meditation programs for the school kids. But when they operate from New York, they can't, it's hard to do. So during weekdays, they want people to go. So that's why we are thinking about all these things.
But the important thing for tonight.
Yeah.
Is that the temple is the statue with the cover over it.
Yeah,
That is the temple, that exists today.
Yeah.
And we have to get
permit for that.
a permit for that.
Yeah.
Which allows us to then go put the house there.
Okay.
In further down the line, you might decide to have the temple defined as something bigger.
Yeah.
But if you've got a temple today,
Mhm.
you can go forward with the house.
Yeah.
If you don't have a temple today.
Yeah.
No house.
Definitely we'll, it's easy enough. We
Yeah,
can
I
work
think
on
it's
that.
very easy to do.
Very good.
And look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, very good. Any other questions for us? We can definitely work on the documentation and come and then work with Jim and get Andy and others to come talk to you and then.
I didn't know the Sri Lankan community was growing the way it is, but you've certainly been wonderful neighbors out there at this point. And,
Yeah, we were
look forward to that.
ourselves were surprised how big the community is when we did the larger events. There were lots of people and we were ourselves so surprised to see how many families there are. I mean, New York always had large, they have about 3,500 families, Sri Lankan families in New York, in the 5 boroughs. But yeah, Connecticut is growing pretty fast.
And I think UConn has a student swap program or something like that with Sri Lankan universities. So
Yeah.
every year, like 10 to 15 kids coming over.
Now they
and
have
half
about
of them
30 to
settling.
40
Yeah.
graduate students there who are doing their PhDs.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's growing pretty well and pretty fast. And they also want to come during weekends and work
Nope,
with the.
it's all great.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we end the discussion here? I think this is all good news.
Thank you very much. Really
Thank you for coming.
appreciate the help and everybody has been very supportive, so we really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, now we're gonna shift back to old business. And the first item up, John, is the plan of conservation development.
Okay. Thank you, Jed. I'm gonna throw the draft document on the screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see that shortly. I'll try to zoom in a little bit. So as requested, a couple of days ago, it's probably yesterday, it's only Tuesday. I forwarded around to everyone a copy of the working draft. And as you recall, last month, we sort of talked through complete streets, which again was sort of one of the 5 guiding principles or the visioning statements. Specifically, we envision a safe and vibrant Andover that connects the community through a network of complete streets and enhances the town's civic campus on both sides of Route 6 at its heart. And we had the conversation, and so I took those suggestions, that conversation, and attempted to craft it into something that resembled a chapter of a plan of conservation and development. So I'll just very, very briefly walk through the way it was structured, and then would like to get just a little bit of feedback on if this reads the way that you would like to see it, and if it reflects the goals that we discussed and concerns. So again, I'll be relatively brief. Hopefully people got a chance to take a look at this. So we talk about complete streets as a concept, the history of Andover being involved in complete streets and looking to increase safety on Andover's road network. We discussed the current conditions with state roads, which are, you know, probably the most important connectors in Andover, Route 6, Route 216. Looking a little bit at traffic counts and how everything's connected. Talk a little bit about local roads. I could beef that up a little bit more, just in terms of the character, but you know, they're local roads. It's a rural town. It's fairly straightforward. Talk a little bit about the Hop River Trail and the town's public transportation, such as it is. And then we go into some of the philosophical underpinnings of this chapter, the Vision Zero, Complete Streets, taking the safe systems approach, and added some of the graphics and descriptions from the PowerPoint presentation and some of the materials that Eric has put together over the years. And again, focusing on the safe systems goals of changing local policy that includes the needs of people on foot, bicycle, and bus, educating residents on a series of safe behaviors, making roads safer, and looking at some of the proven safety countermeasures, which is a term of art from Federal Highway, and ensuring people of all ages have more options to travel safely. Then we sort of go through a detail of the improvements that have been made following this broad goal that we're continuing, dealing with some of the pedestrian crossings, bike racks, wayfinding signage, and that sort of thing. And then we go into a little bit more deeper narrative of the specific initiative that was began a couple of years ago to establish a stronger connection for bicycles, pedestrians between the town hall campus, the civic campus on School Street, and the Hop River Trail, which is sort of the spine from the spine of Andover from a trail system or multimodal system, and the two paths that we're going to be pursuing essentially concurrently. So describe that. And then we detail some of the concerns that were raised in the past, and we talked quite a bit about at our last meeting, about, you know, connecting people to the trails, the concerns with crossings of Route 6 to try to knit the town more closely together, problems with speed and lack of awareness on local roads, particularly when it comes to pedestrians and bicycles, and pedestrians. Did I spell that right? Yes. Okay. And then we basically take it to the actual actions section, and we split up the recommended actions into 3 large goals. Goal A, promoting traffic calming and encouraging lower speed roads, making investments in the multi-use path and trail connections. And then the third being undertake transportation network improvements to improve safety, efficiency, and convenience. And each of those goals has specific action items, which we will then further break down in an implementation guide, which will happen sort of at the end of the process, in which each of these recommendations will be given a priority, will be given a principal entity to act upon it, as well as any supporting details. So for instance, painting edge line striping, if you look at the first goal under, or the first action under goal C, would certainly be the, you know, Public Works Department with the assistance and guidance of the town manager, the town administrator, and, you know, it's a high priority or it's an ongoing priority. And so all of these will sort of be broken down so that the goals are more easily trackable as we go into the future. So that in very brief is basically the structure of, you know, this chapter, which again would be one of 6 based on the We Envision statements. And then, you know, we continue to add to these as we have our sort of in-depth conversations on each of the We Envision statement, like we did about Complete Streets last month. So that's the broad brush approach of what we're looking for. And you know, we can quibble about words, specific details maybe later, but I would just sort of like some feedback on if this, in terms of tone, length, detail, appearance, is sort of, you know, vibing with where you guys would like the plan to go. And I'll leave it there. Mr. Chairman.
Any comments, from the commission members?
When I read through it, I found a couple different things that I wasn't, at the time when I read it this morning. It didn't sit well with me. And I think it's, go down, John.
I'm sorry, yeah, did you say it didn't sit well?
Yeah, keep going. I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay.
I think it had to do with what has happened so far or something like that. I mean, maybe here, major ongoing task. Go down.
Oh, right here, the major ongoing task, the,
Hang on.
Major.
Some about humans are fallible.
oh. Okay. I think that's in the safe systems approach. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
That's a straight tenant from the federal highway.
Yeah, right here. Right here.
Humans are fallible after all.
You don't think that's true?
Not in Andover. I guess maybe that's true of Columbia.
Because humans are.
Yeah, I think that's pretty universal.
I mean, I think you just mean that accidents are bound to happen at some point, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it says everybody makes mistakes. The goal of this is a transportation network where the mistakes don't kill you or your friend.
Eric, I understood the whole thing. It's just that part of it didn't, because humans are fallible after all. I don't know how he could rewrite that.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's parenthetical and a little bit chatty. There's no, we could take it out entirely, and the sentence still has its strength. I think, people inevitably make mistakes. Period.
Well, you can think about it. I don't know. It struck me badly this
Yeah.
morning. I don't know why.
Here we go.
One was through the woods, down below there. Keep going down. Through the woods. That has something to do with what has been completed so far. Right, slow down right there, right here. The town would.
Yeah, I think I described the trail through the woods.
Over the
Right
river?
there.
Yeah, right here.
Through the woods on town-owned property.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, which would describe sort of the red or pink path that we're looking at here.
Through the.
Over hill and dale.
Through the woods.
So no mention of grandmother's house.
Through the, how about through the town-owned property?
Through.
Yeah, we could just say
property or-
through town-owned property right here.
Or the wooded.
It is
town.
wooded though, right?
Yes.
I mean, through wooded town property or?
I appreciate the close read. It's never easy to be edited, but I appreciate the close read.
Maybe it was just too early in the morning for Scott.
And that's and let's to be absolutely clear, I can send out a Word version. I think I sent people the PDF version. I'm happy to send people the Word version, and you're welcome to use track changes and suggest some specific editorial stuff. That's perfectly fine.
Because humans are fallible after all, is it a government?
Yep.
That came from the government.
Well,
That's one of the
being a
primary.
Rickover disciple, I
That's what
know
they wrote.
he was a big guy on nuclear submarines that certainly, tried to design everything with that concept in mind.
That's actually one of the primary tenets of the safe systems approach. Is just acknowledging the fact that, people make mistakes.
And we want them to be hurt less.
Right.
As opposed to the old philosophy of the stupid will be punished.
Right, you crashed, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Darwin in theory.
Yeah.
right.
The thing that I struggled with a little bit is, when we talk about lower speeds on the roads, we talked about lowering speed limits and every Andover road is 25 miles an hour already. I don't have a problem with, I think 25, there's a couple of places where I go less than 25 around the curves because you can't see what's coming up, but pretty much if we had everybody going 25, I think we'd be a pretty safe town. I had a guy go whizzing by me the other day on Lake Road and he must have been doing 60, you know, and that's the problem, you know, and but so I don't think we would gain much by lowering speed limits, but we do need to lower the speed, which is a different thing. But as, you know, are there people here that think we should be having speed limits less than 25 posted out there?
I don't
Not
think
gonna change.
state laws. There was a group of folks on Birch Drive that wanted to lower the speed limit below 25 and so this STC wouldn't allow it. Unless, I mean, obviously there's a few roads that are.
I know when you get up into 40 and 50, everybody goes plus 10. You know, but I don't think if we, you know, we would reduce the speed much by lowering it down to 10 or 15. And all we do is spend money on more signs.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that was the original question was, how does it look? How's the length? How's the presentation? All that. I thought it was great. And if we could get every chapter to look that nice, we'd be doing good.
Right, that's what I thought also.
Yeah.
So I will thank you. I will, and you know, in this chapter was particularly easy because of all the work that Eric has done over the years.
Yep.
So I think the other ones are going to start being a little bit more challenging. And so what we would propose to do, and I'll let me go back up to the beginning, is we're looking at the 5 envision statements. Again, so we have the envision statement about the quality of life, housing, conservation, economic development, complete streets, and climate change. So we have, you know, essentially one chapter roughly drafted. You know, there's going to be some tweaking, and I believe, Jed, correct me if I'm wrong, I think conservation is probably going to be discussed next month, and maybe economic development in January.
Hopefully, yep. And I think the conservation is probably might not be as easy as what Eric gave you, but I think it's going to come in very good shape.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of thinking and a lot of planning. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much Elaine's been able, she's been pretty busy with lots of stuff. But we do have our liaison member here on the commission now with economic development with Patrick. And so I guess you guys are meeting tomorrow night to talk about that.
Yes, we are.
So-
We've been investigating, you know, trying to bring out the positive benefits of our town and, you know, ecotourism and
Yep.
looking into all those options and trying to support those businesses as much as we can. And then, you know, we're brainstorming and researching on some other options to bolster that kind of thought process. So.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think you'll get probably a something very similar to what you got from Eric from conservation. Hopefully we'll get that from economic development too. I think they've got some different thoughts than they did before. And then it's gonna be the rest of these that sort of fall to you, John, to
Right.
craft up for us.
So yeah, so we'll want to talk, and again, if we have those two sort of queued up, we'll be talking to conservation next month ideally, and then maybe economic development in January. Then we'll be looking, and then ideally, what we'll do is sort of follow this process. So if we have the conversation with conservation in December, by the January meeting, hopefully I can get you this sort of chapter for conservation, then queue up economic development. February, you'll have the chapter on economic development, and we can have the conversation on the next thing. So we'll, but that what that leaves is the discussions of sort of quality of life, housing, and civic investment in climate change issues, we should start talking about if there are groups or individuals that we want to get their input. So for instance, probably for the quality of life, one, civic opportunities and quality of life, we may want to talk to Tess from the new community and senior center. We may want to talk to someone from the schools. We may want to talk to someone from Parks and Rec, and maybe get all of their inputs, in one conversation. And then, housing, I'm open to suggestions on who we want to talk to there. But we need to have sort of the queue up these conversations and invite the right stakeholders to the table.
Yeah, I think for housing, you're gonna be talking to yourself using the last affordable housing plan that we came up with.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably use that as a basis. Absolutely.
And, the town does have I believe, two representatives on the Eastern Connecticut Housing Opportunities Board or advisory.
Start that again?
Folks that own senior housing.
Oh,
I believe it's Eastern Connecticut Housing. I mean, there are a couple of town reps on that. I don't know how they're appointed. I don't know anything about it.
okay, yeah.
Other than that,
So yeah, I would say in the short term, what I will do is send around the Word version. Maybe I'll just cut out the complete street section, so it's just like a 3 or 4 page Word version. You guys can, if anyone wants to mark it up, and we can incorporate those changes, and then we'll plan to queue up our conservation conversation in December.
Yeah, because once
Jed?
once we get to the end, I think it's like it takes 4 months from the time we have a finished document till we do the public hearing, and we, I think there's a brief to the Board of Selectmen or something in there that we have to do. There's a bunch of hoops we have to jump through before it's, done and done.
Right. We're probably looking to the fall. So I'm sorry, was that Leanne that was jumping in? Someone on the phone was talking.
Heard Leanne's voice
Yeah.
also.
Thought it was you, Leanne, but I see you're muted there. Any other questions or comments on P O C D at this point?
Jed,
Okay,
just-
am I unmuted now?
Yes, yep, go ahead.
Okay. Should we be changing School Street to School Road?
We should be changing it to whatever it is. What is it?
School Road.
School Road? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll correct that.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you,
And-
Leanne.
What is a speed table?
Oh, so it's a wide, less dramatic speed bump. So you can think of it also sort of as like a raised crosswalk or they can be anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to 20 feet wide. And it's, you sort of gradual, it's a little bit of a plateau that functions as a speed bump. Essentially, it slows traffic, but it also sort of highlights a pedestrian crossing. It's just a different
Okay,
road
thank you.
treatment. Mhm.
Wayne, you had a comment?
This is simply procedural. The documents, and I'll defer to you, Jed. But personally, I'd like to see the word draft on these documents and a revision date. If that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good,
Okay.
good point. Yeah.
I can put a watermark on it.
And it's easy to get mixed up on what's the latest draft if you don't have the revision date.
These things are
Good.
laying around without draft. They
Yeah.
look like
Yep,
a document you'd use.
okay, good point.
John, the only other comment I had when I read through this again
Mhm.
was that somebody that's not intimately familiar with the town, that doesn't know where all these roads are,
Yeah.
you really need a map in there which shows, the rail trail and then all the potential connections to it. So you can kind of see this as a coherent whole as to where, where the plan suggests improvements.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely correct. I think we're gonna, there's much more. I included obviously some graphics. We're gonna want to add more and definitely maps. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, John?
I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We move on to old business item, proposed regulations so as to expand allowable uses on working farms. And I'm kind of looking for some help from the commission here on the way ahead. We heard, Ryan Fitch stop by and, told us. Well, I guess he's looking for help to, do things up, through and including concerts. And John drafted a regulation that would have allowed that. I struggle a little bit with when a guy has a Christmas tree farm, should he have an expectation that we're gonna allow him to do concerts there? And I mean, might be a good idea, might not be, but my thought is that maybe that's not what we're looking for, and John had a write-up on non-agricultural related kind of things, which were, all kinds of different things from weddings to concerts and all that. And then I looked at, John sent me, and I think I sent it out to everybody, the Columbia regs. And I looked kind of, thinking that a Christmas tree farm, probably I can see doing events at a winery more than I can at a Christmas tree farm. And the regulations that Columbia had for the winery did not allow amplified sound outside. I think they only allowed it a couple times a year. And we would need to draft, kind of specific to the tree farm, but I don't know that we need to let him do everything that he was thinking of doing. I know we had this scary trailer thing set up for Halloween, and again, not charging, but is that and it was to support a charity. And I don't know if that was what we expect to be at a Christmas tree farm or not. Now, if he came in and said, I'm here to change the use of the property from a farm to a wedding venue or something, then maybe, or a concert venue, then, that would be a different thing. Not allowed by our procedures, but I'm trying to figure out the way to go. And I like the Columbia approach. And I asked John, well, I know the town of Columbia has concerts at their little gazebo and down at the lake. How does that jive? And what did you say the answer to that question was, John? I didn't want.
They did, well, yeah, no, Columbia doesn't have sort of a separate zoning regulation or provision for sort of community events.
Yeah.
It's sort of just done. But yeah, the town has, well, I think I shared with you the specific wedding venue regulation that was adopted, and the first one was approved, actually formally, officially 2 weeks ago, because the lawsuit was defeated. So yeah, but it's not really about active agriculture, about special events added on active agriculture in Columbia. It's really about a standalone single purpose event venue.
So
yeah, the town, the regulations that I developed for that, sort of in coordination with Mr. Fitch, were sort of a modified version of something that was adopted not that long ago in East Hampton.
Okay, Patrick, you had a comment?
Yeah, so we briefly touched on this at our last Economic Development Commission meeting, and we've all done some research and brought up the draft proposal for this new mixed use. But it falls under, I misspoke earlier as ecotourism, it falls under agritourism. And we discussed it briefly because I had I had the draft with me, but then the other members have forwarded that draft, so we're gonna be talking about that tomorrow at our meeting.
Okay,
And we're looking to be in line, but our own thing in Andover, so. You know, we have been very permissive on a lot of things in our town, and due to the smaller scope of a lot of our stuff and events. You know, it's a little bit different in our town. And my personal opinion is that, you know, we've been trying to promote and support our local businesses that are, you know, a lot of blue collar and a lot of, you know, smaller enterprises and home-based businesses. So this does fall under the agritourism also, like, so I think that the Economic Development Commission will be giving our input at the next planning and zoning meeting. We'll have something ready for you for
okay,
evaluation.
that'd be good, yeah.
We have, you know, we did like what John prepared, but, you know, we want to see what else we can do with it and make
Okay.
some recommendations. I don't have official recommendations.
So I got you,
So-
so that sounds good.
All right.
That'd be helpful.
But yeah, we want to support as much local business as
Yep.
possible without being,
Well, and so,
yeah.
the other thing that I would add on that
Yep.
is, you know, John put in there that, consistent with the state noise regulations.
Mhm.
And I found that very difficult for me to understand what was going on, you know, how I would tell. But I do think it's similar to our light regulations that require a very small amount of light to trespass onto the neighbor's property. It seemed, I think that if we were to go out and investigate what the noise levels are coming off his property at that concert, I think it's gonna be well in excess of what the state allows on that. The other thing that I took away from, because I was always told that measuring the sound levels is difficult and tricky and all that kind of stuff. And it says in the state thing that the way to do it is there's an app for your iPhone. It's free. You just put it in there and it'll give you the sound pressure level. I said, wow, how cool is that? But I don't know, I think Mr. Fitch would be surprised at how low his concerts would have to be to do that. And I know my own comment when we have a good rock and roll band over here at the gazebo is it's not loud enough. Now I know why, because because we don't want to be annoying all the neighbors. We get the band playing out at the beach maybe twice a year. They have, one in the spring, one in the fall. And I don't think anybody complains about that, but I think the issue with at least the one neighbor was the events keep expanding in scope and frequency, and they just didn't know when that was gonna stop. So I look forward to hearing from EDC next month on what that is, but like the lights over at the soccer field, I'll tend to be kind of protective of the neighbors that, the comment I got was, we're living next to a Christmas tree farm, We didn't expect that. So I think we could do both.
I had some thoughts and just thinking about, in general, farms, agriculture, and what can we do in town? And farms are struggling. They, sometimes one crop doesn't make it or something has a problem. I feel like we should really encourage people to find another way to get some income and really look into these kinds of other options. And of course, we have to deal with noise, maybe light, but I think that it definitely is a benefit to encourage them to find other ways of making some money. So I know that the Economic Development Commission will probably be working on that idea, but I just.
Well, and I noticed there was one section in the Columbia regs that talked about, no more than 6 noisy events a year and something like that. But my heart tells me that, we ought to be having something similar to what we expect the town to do is the farm to do with respect to concerts. We can't tell the farm not to have a concert and then the town's out putting on concerts. We gotta be consistent across there a little bit. But I will wait with bated breath till,
Yeah.
till next month when, maybe we get something, feedback on that. Any other thoughts on, the working farm stuff?
Yeah, Jed, I had a
Okay.
question. Refresh my memory. Does the noise ordinance change with the time of day, or is it the same, you know, at 5 PM as it is at 9 PM? Because I was thinking maybe we limit Mr. Fish having the events, you know, maybe he has to end by 8 instead of 10, or, you know, I don't know if that would help the neighbor situation.
Well, yeah, I think, and John, probably know this better than me. My guess is that there was something different in the time of day. I can't put my finger on it right off the bat, but you could be noisier during the day than you could in the evening. But I mean, you go to a concert in Mohegan Sun and your ears are hurting when you get done with that thing.
No, I understand that, and they even have a curfew
Yeah.
of 11 o'clock or something, but I was just thinking that if we wanted to work with him and let him make some other income during the non-Christmas tree selling time of year, you know, could he be doing some things during the day or early evening?
I think,
Yeah.
yes, I think, that's a very good approach. I like that. And I think most of the town concerts are done they're normally 6:30 to 8:30 or something like that. I think that's a reasonable time. I know on the draft, it talked about going to 10 o'clock. I think that's certainly a little past my bedtime. But we can get there, right? But I am looking for something that would be, good guidance for the lake, good guidance for the town, and good guidance for the farm, and try to make everybody happy, and that's always a tall order, but there you go.
I don't think I'd want to live next to a wedding venue.
Oh, I wouldn't, Joe. But I am pretty close to the beach, and there's twice a year, there's a band playing out there, and it's not huge. They don't have those great big mono speakers. They have the same kind of speakers as we use down here at the gazebo. And it's not, I don't find it annoying. As far as I know, we've never had any complaints about any of that going on. But anyhow, I'd like it to work. Same rules for everybody who wants to have a concert. Kind of my thought. Okay, that completes the old business. The next thing on the new business is to set the regular meeting dates for 2025. And I sent those out to everybody. For next year's calendar, it worked very straightforward. The third Tuesday of the month, there was nothing that stuck out like it was prohibitive of that. So I would like to make a motion to adopt the proposed 2025 PZC meeting schedule.
Second.
Okay, Leanne, we'll get you seconding on that one. Any discussion on those dates at all? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Ann?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That motion passes 5-0. Next up is the discussion on the Bunker Hill Bridge here.
Okay, so, Jim brought it to my attention that an 8-24 statutory referral was required for the bridge. I didn't believe it was, but then when I went back and read through the regulations, I said, yep, he's right. So I submitted one to the town. I think, replacing that bridge is consistent with the plan of conservation and development. Because certainly the plan of conservation and development, envisions people being able to drive their cars to a significant fraction of town. So, I would urge you to, vote positively for the proposal to replace the bridge.
Now, why'd you change your mind?
Because I read the actual statute.
Oh, okay, wow. No. I didn't know if I think it's an improved bridge from what I read, where it allows more flow to go through it instead of, the individual pipes you've got going through it now. It's got the big open space to allow much more there, but,
Trees won't get hung up.
trees might, branches will, yeah, but
Everything that goes through them gets hung up now.
super. Any questions for Eric on the bridge replacement?
I have a question.
Yep.
Do we have any idea how long that bridge will be closed?
Well, with a little luck, just over 8 months.
Okay.
Starting sometime between February and April. Depending on exact time.
I think they did that big one in Columbia in like 6 months.
Yep.
It was very quick.
Eric?
Yes.
Is there any possibility of the bridge being open, even if it is closed back up again, off and on at any point during this process?
So once they start putting the coffer dams in, and they start putting micro pilings in, no, it would be closed. Period from that point, because they have to tear out the roadway to do that. The initial thing that's supposed to be starting February 15th is relocation of the utilities. And that may take a temporary several day road closure, but then the road would be opened back up until the bridge construction firm was in setting the initial coffer dams. But once that starts and the micro pilings start going in, it's anticipated that the bridge will be closed.
And about how long a time frame is that from your understanding right now?
The contract calls for the bridge to be reopened basically in about 8 months after it starts. So a single construction season.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments on the bridge? Hearing none. Oh, so in a minute, I'll make a motion to, that I write and submit 824 positive referral on that. The, somewhere along the line in the 824 world, we had made an 824 referral recommending the, multi-purpose path along Route 316. And the scope of the project changed to have a path through the woods. And so we haven't done an 824 referral on that either. And that does take a little bit of town money where the bridge doesn't, and it is certainly a town improvement. And so I think it needs one. It just got overlooked because we didn't know that was coming. And so I would like, my intention would be to write a combined letter for 2 824 referrals. One would be for the bridge, and the other would be in support of the trail through the woods, if that's what we choose to recommend. And so,
Jed, can I just clarify that there are two completely separate projects?
Yeah.
The first is a multi-use path that
Yep.
runs down Route 316. That's in design phase right now. The construction funding for that is already secured. What's not secured is enough money to finish the design. So that's a me and Board of Finance discussion later this year. The trail, the potential improvement of taking the existing Percy Cook Trail and making that a more functional multi-use pathway. That will be in design sometime this fall or this winter, but as a separate grant funding project with a different granting agency. So they are two completely different projects.
Yep. But we didn't recognize the trail through the woods when we started out. It was
Correct.
something, I thought we were ahead of, well, we're still ahead. On the 824s, and all of a sudden it dawned on me that we hadn't acted on that. So, well, I guess I'll make a motion and then we can have discussion if we need to. I'll make,
The question I have is that since there's no real design for that, do you want to do the 824 now or wait till you have a final design and do an 824 prior to funding?
Funding, there's no funding yet.
okay, that's, yeah, I thought we were further along on that one than the 316 path, but,
No, just the
Yeah.
opposite.
because I saw a drawing showing where the path was gonna be. I thought that was the design, okay, well, that makes it easy then, I will go back and make a motion to approve 824 referral for the bridge replacement on Bunker Hill Road.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call for vote, Ann?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Leanne?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay? Make my math hard. Patrick?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes 401 with Leanne abstaining. Next up is discussion, action, response to request for comment on proposed FEMA map updates. I was going to point to Jim on that particular issue, but he tells me, Wayne, you and Joe went through the new updated maps?
Yeah, in looking at what was presented here, it doesn't look like, the FEMA update is going to affect Andover. The outline of the affected area runs right along the Andover Hebron border town line. And it affects the, what's the watershed?
Did you or Joe gotten the draft FEMA map? Did you see the fact?
No, we haven't.
Okay,
Haven't seen the actual map.
that would be my comment, is if they want comments on the map, they ought to make it easier to find, because I've tried to get there and have been unable to. And, I thought,
Joe
said
said
Joe
Joe
was-
was me that he had gone on the website and sent an email and expected to a response. That was very recently, well, it could have been yesterday. I mean.
yep, no, I got you, so. So I know the comments are due, I think it says in that presentation, December 3rd, and, I'll reach out to Joe to find out if he actually, did you try call Darcy? You said you were gonna call her and,
I didn't.
okay, please do. And, it would be nice to see the map. I don't think there's any changes to it, but I would hate to be caught by surprise. And then, you know, the feedback is, you sure make it, I know they don't want these new maps getting out to the public, but boy, they're sure making it hard to get there.
Well, if nobody can download the thing, it's certainly not getting out to the public, Jed.
I got you. They have solved that, they've got that problem fixed. So anyhow, Jim, did you have anything else on the FEMA map update you wanted to share with us?
No,
Okay,
I'd like to know more about it, but I'm
yep,
working on it.
okay, very good. Got it. Next item up is approval of minutes from the October 15th, 2024 meeting. And I'll make a motion. Well, are there any comments on the meeting minutes?
I have one. I thought you were gonna make a motion first and then.
Well, again,
Do I have to
and then
procedure wrong?
so that probably is how it should go, but then I have to amend the motion and all that stuff. And so
Okay.
we're gonna get the comments out here and I'll make a motion to approve it as amended.
I just want to suggest that public comment number 11 there, Catherine Hutchinson, comment in agreeance. That the zoning agent be present. I just thought maybe it should say something like noted she was in agreement.
I initially thought that when I read through that too, and I looked up that word, and it actually is
Really?
a valid word that means just what you think it should mean.
Okay.
So well done, Marina. Yeah,
I retract that then.
yeah, that was gonna be my only comment going through there. What kind of word is this? And I looked it up, and sure enough, it's a real word. So,
I should have done that.
It didn't come up on spell check, so I was like.
yeah. Any other comments on the minutes?
They were very good.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any other discussion? Call for a vote, Ann?
Aye.
Scott? Leanne?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes 5-0. Any correspondence, Jim?
Did receive notification from the Connecticut Siting Council that a generator will be installed at, or is proposed for the Rod and Gun Club to augment the telecommunication tower. Any improvements, the siting of towers and improvements go through the Siting Council. And they do allow towns to comment. So that's the.
So the front page story on River East last week was about the controversial cell tower in Marlboro.
No, that was on town property.
Okay, that's,
So I think that was the controversy. I mean, the town obviously has the ability to agree to a lease or not on a particular piece of
I
property.
read through it, I couldn't figure out exactly what the controversy was, but I thought the title was catchy.
So I did have a conversation with David Porter over that, because I was a little curious. David Porter's their town administrator. And basically, they've had a problem with emergency communications for some time. And their fire department wanted to put up a tower on town property so they could have better emergency communications, because they had a bunch of dead spots in a particular area. And then, the town administrator basically said, well, if we're gonna go out to RFP on this, why not do something where we can make a little money on it? So they contacted one of the cell tower companies, because it corresponds to a dead spot in Marlboro where they have pure coverage. They got a bunch of proposals, and then everybody came out of the woodwork, stating this is gonna, everything from, the RF signal is gonna, scramble my brain to it's gonna fall down and crush my car to, the usual litany of things that you get. And there were some other, obviously the cell towers cause visual disturbance.
Yep.
That offends some people.
Plus it's in a residential zone.
Plus, it's in a residential zone. But ultimately, the Board of Selectmen decided it was in their best interest to sign the contract and get the ball rolling. It still does have to go to the Connecticut Siting Council, even though it's on town property, so people have another point of objection. So that everybody knows, there are 2 cell towers in Andover. There's the one at the Sportsman's Club. There's also another one. Oh, is that on?
Bunker Hill.
It's on Bunker Hill, but I don't know whose property that's on.
It was Leanne Price, I don't know whether Leanne is still alive.
I do get, if you want them every month or every other month, I do get randomly packets every time somebody takes one particular dish or antenna off one of the towers and puts another one, they submit this giant packet. To be perfectly honest, 90% of them, I pitch them straight in the bin. I look to make sure they're not actually replacing a tower and that they're just replacing an individual antenna off the tower and ignore it. If you want, as a commission, to get all those, I'm happy to pass them on. I'm certainly not willing to read through all of them.
No, I think we're okay, but thanks for reaching out to Marlboro and getting the story there, because it didn't. I don't know, maybe I got tired of reading halfway through that article and wasn't getting anywhere, but I didn't come away with that.
So there is a cell tower at the Sportsman's Club, and they're
Yes.
doing what now? They're getting a different one or expanding?
No, they're just adding a backup generator.
Oh,
to it.
generate, yeah, okay.
Okay, moving on to administrative reports, inland wetlands water course, the big item at the last meeting, which I was not present for, I was out of town, was about the bridge, and Eric's briefed us on that. I did note that one of the approvals that Joe granted was for somebody paving their driveway, and this was, 300 and something Lake Road. And once again, my concern is that, and I haven't reached out to Joe to specifically ask him, but I'm pretty sure we probably didn't do a nutrient allocation worksheet for all the new impervious surface. And so we continue to miss those opportunities to,
How did that happen?
I don't have any good answer for that, Scott.
Pretty clear.
Yeah, yeah, so. I will-
There is a type of a pavement they can put down that allows the water to go through, right?
It is, yep,
But they probably didn't use that.
no, it's, just plain old asphalt and not.
How long was it?
It was not as big as the one on Lakeside Drive where they paved the whole front,
Of the house?
of the house. Yeah, it goes from one property line to the other property line.
That's where they're parking.
Yep. So I'll
We are trying to.
share that with Wayne, that would be an area that would be nice if we would improve on is the getting of those nutrient allocation worksheets every chance we can to help keep the lake in as good a shape as we can.
Maybe we need a banner or something in that office.
Just pass the zoning change and outlaw asphalt driveways. You're done.
We are,
A
the
banner.
building office is working to improve the driveway
How can
permit
that,
process.
why doesn't that spark somebody's,
Yeah.
about it?
Well, it's, and it's more than just driveways, there's a couple of houses that got totally rehabbed and that would spark a nutrient allocation worksheet as well, and I don't think we got those, but so there's an area where we could do a little better in.
So Wayne, remember that, okay, enforcer, Wayne.
Yeah. And the next,
Some sort of workflow to ensure that.
It is.
Zoning.
yeah, it is, and and key to that process is a good relationship with the building official. Jim, you're up for administrative reports.
Thank you. General slowdown in permit applications, seasonal. Just probably just as well, because we've had early voting in the office, and so it's been a little much, but it's passed. ZBA met in October, held 2 public hearings, one on the Genovese property, 517 Route 6. Applicant requested relief from the requirement to basically loam and seed the disturbed area. That was denied. Second application for relief from building setbacks to allow construction of accessory apartment at 4 Sunset Lane was approved. Single family house built on the 2-lot subdivision at the end of Pine Ridge Drive is nearly complete, and I anticipate the owner will be seeking a C of O soon.
So Sunset Lane, so you,
Corner Sunset and
That's in the
Lakeside.
lake zone.
right, so you allowed them
An
an
accessory
accessory dwelling,
No, shit.
Huh?
accessory structure.
Yeah.
accessory structure,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah.
Did I say wrong?
Yeah, you did.
Good. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, cause that trip's a different set of regulations.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Okay, so, the owner, back to Pine Ridge. The owner will have to regrade to pull material off the post farm. And they will, in all probability, have to have him post a ENS bond to ensure planting in the spring, seeding in the spring.
Now, would it be a good idea to not disturb that property till spring when you can seed it? And loam it?
Probably.
Yeah.
So back to the enforcement letter that you sent him. It tells him, requires him to submit a written plan.
And he did for a portion of the work, but he didn't address that, the post farm portion.
I would like to see a written plan that shows when and what he's gonna do, just because we've had a hard time working with him to remedy the situation there.
I can do that. Continuing to work with Ben Franklin on a site plan, not exactly him, but the owners of Ben Franklin, to address changes that they've done to the site. I got a complaint regarding debris at 64 Long Hill Road. And the matter is resolved. Quite honestly, it was resolved on its own. So anybody who drives by that house, it's really, it's been a mess for a long time. Looks great. Guy did a great job. Received a number of complaints regarding trees, but I did go out and take a look at them, and I didn't think they met the town's blight ordinance. The long vacant property at 243 changed hands a while back. New owner took the roof off, basically alleviating the violation. And he's working on getting a survey to move forward with the total rehab of the structure.
And what road was that? You said 243
Long Hill.
Long Hill, okay.
That stone house is just the walls right now.
Just a point of interest, there's 3 permits for new homes that are in our system. They've been in there for a while. They're not moving forward very quickly, but nonetheless, they're there. Folks initiated a permit and then changed design or whatever. Finally, I've just been working with Wayne as my replacement, and I think it'll be a good fit. And the town and commission will be well served. That's all I got.
Going back to the Ben Franklin, so what did you say about Ben Franklin? Did you told them to stop what they were doing until they come up with a plan?
I did,
Okay.
and they seem to have done that.
Now, are they completely on their property?
They seem to think so.
Cause that looks awfully close to
State property.
the state property
The real
there.
line, yeah.
And unless they're gonna end up putting in a retaining wall, how do they prevent? I mean, right now, they just cut into a bank and left it.
They are proposing a retaining wall. I mean, I forgot what, I think they're required to adhere to a planning that would propose a 2 to 1, or whatever it is, it's in the rate. But they're proposing a retaining wall, they just haven't, they've stalled out their working with an engineer supposedly. I think they may be running up against a problem with lot coverage.
Yep. That would make sense.
I suggested the
They should have beat that with impervious pavement or gravel.
or acquiring a portion of the fish pond property. Which is probably not realistic, but. Yeah,
I don't know, the whole thing's for sale.
he probably doesn't need all of it. Yeah, okay, very good. And I don't know the particulars. I don't know how much of that property is in flood zone. I don't think where he would expand.
Yeah.
Where he would buy. He pretty much cut himself. When he divided that property, he didn't leave it. The business has grown a lot over the years, in the last 20 years. It's changed. I mean, it was a plumbing and heating company, and now it's, they now do a lot of sort of site work with it, on trenching and such. And then site work, but they have heavy equipment down there, smaller heavy equipment.
Any other questions for Jim? Okay, John, you're up.
Obviously we spent some time writing the Complete Streets chapter. The only other thing I would note about activity this month was worked fairly extensively with Tess Grouse, the new community and senior center director, on a programming survey. Now that the center is up and running, they want to figure out what kind of programs and events and activities and services and classes should be held there. So we worked up a survey. I drafted it on SurveyMonkey as well as hard copies. Eric, you can tell me if that distribution has started or the publicity of that has started, but hopefully everyone will fill out the online survey about activities in the community and senior center.
You have a paper copy for those seniors?
There are. So the seniors can stuff the ballot box like they did with the POCD survey.
Okay, very good. Anything else, John?
But we didn't ask them about roundabouts for the community.
Some eagle-eyed seniors may see that slipped into the Complete Streets section, and we'll deal with that later.
Yeah, very good. Next up is commission discussion and miscellaneous. Any commission members got anything they want to discuss tonight? Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, just like an afterthought, there was some discussion on supporting some more senior housing and seeing if we could get town support for more of the affordable housing, and that there was some talk about how other towns and bigger cities, actually help fund those programs, but there does seem to be some interest in developers that want to come to our town and do those kinds of building for us. So, I mean, not for the town, but they're willing to come to our town, and there's some business interest in that. So I just wanted to throw it out there, just let everybody know that in the past, it seemed like, oh, nobody wants to build in our town, but there seems to be renewed interest right now. So I thought I'd
Sounds
bring
good.
that up. Yep.
I bet John would like to know who those developers are.
It's still, just in,
Yep. Okay,
development, I guess, we want to call it, talking about it. So,
super. No, that's good news.
yep.
Anybody else? Public comment. I see Catherine Hutchinson is with us tonight.
Yes, I am. I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for attending. Is there anybody else from the public here? I am limited with the number of names across the top. I can't see how many total attendees we got, but if there's anybody else from the public, you got something to say, now's a good time. Let me know who you are. Nope, I guess that's that. Next meeting is gonna be on December 17th. It will be Zoom only. We'll go to Zoom for over the winter. And other than that, thank everybody for showing up tonight. Thank you, Ann, for getting the thing running for us and arranging the room, and Marina for a new standard of excellence on those minutes and popping out with that new word to train us up on. And everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
It's coming
Thanks,
up fast.
Ted. You too.
Thanks, Jed.
Yep. Good night, everybody.